That's for sure.
And Gary, take it away.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I'm combining tonight an interest I have both in photography and in archaeology. I spend a lot of time going out and photographing archaeology sites just because I'm, number one, trying to record what's out there because so much of it gets damaged and worn and eroded, and I'm trying to put together a little photographic record. But this Anasazi Ridge is a local in St. George place. A lot of people don't quite understand the importance of it. We're going to divide their program tonight into two parts. I'm going to kind of take the first and talk about what happens up on the Anasazi Ridge on the solstices. A little bit about, mostly about summer solstice, and we'll have a little bit of information about what goes on at winter solstices. Then once I give you an idea of how important these sites were, I'm hoping to turn it in over to Feather, and she's going to do some interpretation. Of course, I always say that all interpretation is subject to review, but she's going to tell you her ideas about what some of these symbols mean and how important it was to the culture of the individuals, and how they used an area like this to convey their oral traditions and teaching to the young people of the event. So let's go. I have to say that I started out this program with the idea that
You have to sign in. Yeah, there you go.
I started out with this program with the idea of I was going to show it to friends that came into town so they'd know where Anasazi Ridge was, and I guess you show them a slideshow. I wouldn't have to take them out there all the time. But so I've got some information about how to get to the place. You head on through Santa Clara on Old Highway 91 and look for the sign, Santa Clara River Reserve, Anasazi Valley Trailhead. Whoops. You're looking for this gateway, which is on the south side of the road. Anasazi Ridge is kind of a local name. The official name that the BLM uses is Land Hill. So you see a sign out there for Land Hill. And you find it, go down a short distance to the Anasazi Valley Trailhead and just park there. And at the trailhead, this is what the trailhead beginning looks like. And from there, you head up to about 1.5 miles, 1.25 miles up the hill to the petroglyph site. It's called the Tempe Poap with rock writing. It's kind of an interesting thing. For years and years, this kind of stuff is called rock art. The local Native Americans, a lot of Native Americans all over, have decided that they don't like that rock writing term, rock art term, and they want it called rock writing. It's their term for it because it was a type of writing to them. Okay. This is just an overview shot of thing we call the Birdman Shaman panel. It has another name too. It has other names. Feather will go into that. It's a large panel up there, and it is important on the summer solstice. Now, if you ever want to go up to the summer solstice up there, the light show starts about 8:30 in the morning, and it'll go on for a good 3 hours. It is hot. Anybody who goes up there, be prepared for heat. You don't want to go up there if you're having problems dealing with heat because you'll fry. But anyway, on that panel, we have these light daggers. We call it a light show. And I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what the light daggers mean on each particular placement of the things. But I want you to see that these people have spent a lot of time, a lot of effort to know what the light does on the summer solstice and put their petroglyphs in a particular place. The stories involved in the petroglyphs do not start until they're activated by the light daggers. Okay, so you got a light dagger that's starting out here. There's another one. And then it retreats back up into this guy. And then eventually comes back down after 15-minute interval to come between this guy's legs. And by the way, this is a spiritual figure. It's 3 toes. Feather's going to talk about that later. I think the amount of toes on some of these figures is important, and Feather will get into that here. And I want to show you on this particular panel how the light dagger moves across the subject. Let's see if I can get this to move out of here. We got a little something. Okay. Notice that the light dagger comes out of the guy's fingers. I can't tell you what it means again. I can just tell you that as they told the stories about their oral history, they could not tell the part of the stories related to that light dagger that came out of there until the light actually hit it. They had to watch these things probably for years and know where these petroglyphs needed to be pecked. And if you ever have tried to peck out a petroglyph, it's hard. You can't do a figure like this in an hour or two. It takes days. The petroglyph then moves across there and showing the light dagger. It uses the lay of the rock, the curve of the rock, I should say, to work its way across. It's coming towards these things. This is up here at the top here. This is a serpent with a serpent's head up here. So it's working its way up towards that. And it's specifically set up that way so that the light hits the serpent's head. At that point in the time, they're going to be looking at telling the story. A lot of this is used for teaching and at celebrations. Notice how the light dagger wraps itself around the coils on the snake, the serpent, and works its way across, and eventually it covers the whole thing. And eventually, there you go. Then it's going to go out eventually, work its way towards the top. That symbol up there that is kind of pointing at, it's a symbol here, looks like almost a cross. It's rough, but there's a cross up there. That is the Venus symbol. It's a symbol for Venus, and it works its way out across. The Venus symbol disappears. This is another panel, teacher shaman panel, and it's the light dagger. The light show starts here and works its way across. There it is again, 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 again. It's working its way across from here down to the guy's arm. It's important that the guy's arm gets lit up. Notice that this spirit up here almost looks like a body with 2 arms and 2 legs. That's usually considered an ancestral spirit. Somebody who's died and their spirit's gone to the sky that communicates with people on the ground. And he's sending down the light dagger across this guy that wraps around the guy's head. It moves across the body of the thing, lights up that half of him, keeps moving across. It also lights up this area down here, which probably has to do with, it's probably a female form down there at the bottom, what they call a female form, and works its way across. Now, notice this light dagger comes down through this guy's shoulder, through his fingers, and it's going to come through the fingers of this person. This is a pregnant woman. See her stomach there? The light dagger will wrap around, whoops, went one too far. Will eventually wrap around its the stomach of this woman. Let's see. Yeah. So there's a connection between the 2 figures here and here. And I thought I had another shot of that. Here you can see where the light wraps around that stomach of the pregnant woman. This is also considered an umbilical cord, and that's the light dagger goes across it. I wanted to, even if you don't know the complete stories of what's being talked about, these people found these stories important for their culture, and they spent a lot of time and a lot of work setting all this stuff up. They were not stupid, and it's just another shot of the thing.
So Gary,
Yeah.
the sun is shining on it, but what is the sun shining through to make the light dagger? You
Yeah,
know?
I'd have to go back here.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go back real quick.
Oh,
There it was. Shining through here.
ah, okay.
And there is light that comes from the other side too, as part of it, that you can't see in this photograph. Okay. There's actually, another rock that where the photographer would have been standing. There's another rock face there that has some light show that comes across it too.
Okay.
So it's coming from two different places. Okay. Let's zip back, see if we can get back to where we were. Whoops. Okay, summer solstice is the Bear Clan panel. This is kind of an interesting one. It's a prominent one up there. A lot of people have seen it, and this is considered a Bear Clan. This set of petroglyphs was made by the Bear Clans. A lot of petroglyphs are clan symbols. And what makes this Bear Clan? Well, if you've ever seen a picture of a bear walking from the front, his front two legs turn in. His feet turn inward towards each other, just like this is here. This designates this as a Bear Clan petroglyph, this whole thing. This particular guy here is the rain god. He's very important. If you live in the desert, you're always praying for rain. Tlaloc is his Aztec name. Chac is his Mayan name, and he is found in petroglyphs all the way from what we consider southwestern United States all the way into central Mexico. And he's always has these two big bug eyes, and he has a headdress with energy lines out of it, which probably represents lightning because he is the rain god. And these are probably ancestral spirits. And then there's this spiral up here that's important in the story. Well, let's kind of run through this. Again, I want to show you how the light daggers move across. He starts on both the left and the right, moving across the guy. Again, they're telling, as parts of him get lit up, they're telling stories. Notice it comes out of the lightning, the energy line. The light comes across his neck, across his shoulders, and hits his fingers. What does it mean? I don't know. But they didn't do it just by luck. It's something that they've set up to show their culture. This spiral here is important too, in that the light show, the shadows go across here. They kind of follow the spiral here and at different times. And so this spiral is somehow important in the story. This thing that I'm pointing at here, Bear Clan, this shadow is supposed to represent a bear's claw. There's a claw, there's a claw, there's a claw, there's a claw. As it goes across and heads across the rock. It's another indication that the Bear Clan is what actually made this petroglyph. Okay, the light works its way across that spiral, and that's important. I think Feather's going to talk about the meaning of that spiral later on. This is an ancestral spirit. I think it's interesting that it was made so that the bottom part of the ancestral spirit catches one of those claws as it goes across. What does it mean? what part of the story gets told then? The ancestral spirit probably was communicating for some reason to someone. And that was when they started talking about it. That's how come the light show goes across these things. Another thing we've got here, 4 dots, 2, 3, 4. Wanted to point those out. Those probably are stars. And whoops. Let's go back. Somehow we got off there. Those probably are stars that represent the upturned dipper of what we call the Big Dipper. They didn't see it as a dipper. They saw it as a basket in the sky for carrying souls to the afterlife in the Milky Way. And the 3, what we would call the handle of the dipper, actually represents 3 mourners that are with them. But for some reason, this upside down dipper was important in their story also. And this shadow wraps itself around this spiral here. Okay. And that's just another shot of it. This is a marker for shaman seats. These big petroglyphs took a long time to make. They wanted to be sure they were looking at the petroglyphs and the light formations from exactly the same space over the years, over long periods of time, as they pecked these things out. They actually marked shaman seats from where the pictures were taken of that panel with laylock on them. If right there where you're standing, if you look around, you have the marker where you're supposed to be if you're the shaman, and try and view this thing and this stuff and get it all lined up. There are other shaman seats in Anasazi Ridge that they use because it took so long to do it. They had to work at it for quite a bit. So they had to have a reference point. Now, I also want to go through this kind of quickly. Bear Clan Shaman panel is also a winter solstice site, has a slightly different light show. And by the way, were you going to talk about the supernova? Okay, I'll leave this. This represents something too, but I'll leave it for feather later. And I just want to run through these shots and show you that the thing here, the shadow lines up with these 4 dots. What does it mean? I don't know. It's important though, or they wouldn't have done it. And it rolls across here. This is winter solstice. Much nicer temperatures at winter solstice. And it works its way across. Again, you have to figure they were really working to make sure the shadow hit the fingers, went across the neck, hit the edge of the energy line. Here again, it's moving across this as you get later in the morning, and eventually, here's my pointer. Eventually it works its way down, across the end of his foot. And I'll show you these pictures where it comes across the end of his leg. It's definitely the light show comes across the end of that leg. And at one point it goes right around the heel. That's why the heel is made that way. Let's see if we can go through these, just get it to the light show to go across here. It's up by his leg. It's working its way through. It goes around the heel and then works its way off for winter solstice. And this is a shot I took at night of the panel. It's a good place if you want to do nighttime photography up there. You can go up and set yourself up. I would say don't go up there when it's 106 degrees. But now there was one thing that I'm going to go scroll backwards just a little bit, and there was something I missed, I think. Hold on. No, my mistake. I'm going to go back to this. And I'm going to end my section of the program. The thing I just wanted to get over, I say it over and over and over again. We don't know what all that stuff means up there, but it had to be important to them to put that much time and effort into what's going on. Now I'm going to turn this part of the program over to Feather for interpretation. And she's going to talk about some of these things. Now I have to get out of this program here. And we have to bring in another program. We'll just take a second here. Ancient Pueblo rock writing.
I go to slideshow again.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Again. There we go.
Excellent. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, now Feather's going to talk to you about a little bit more about nuts and bolts on this
Got
stuff.
Okay. First of all, it's background for me. Oh, and before I start, since this is being recorded, I will attempt to not say anything naughty. It doesn't work. My filter's dirty. But at any rate, my background is archaeology, anthropology, and Native American. My father was Blackfeet, and my mother came from Liverpool. So Gary's heard this 100 times. So that means I can do all the Native American ceremonies to the Beatle tunes. So
That's really cool. Hey, Feather, could you adjust the screen? Is there a way to adjust your screen so we can see your happy face? Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So I've had years at doing this, and Gary did an excellent job on the solstices. And so what I'm going to do is basic interp work here. And symbol, this is the language of symbol. And so the most important thing is you have to know the culture that made the symbols and understanding what was important to them. And the first thing up on Anasazi Ridge, okay, I was taught this story by a Hopi elder. He was 107 years old and still tending his cornfields last time I saw him. And so this is a very complicated panel. So I will try and shorten it a little bit. If I move the marker around, can they see this? Okay. So in a lot of the old documentation, they talk, I read it, they talk about this was a farmer's field, this thing right over here. But one thing about this culture, you got to know the culture. They would not take the time to put the farmer's field on a rock. It's more meaning to it than that. And so I can show you farmer's fields that's usually a straight line with corn growing on it. So this is not a farmer's field. And sometimes when you do interp work, that will only tell you one or two things that are on it, but the story is not complete. So I'm going to make this real fast here. So here you have a spiral. Okay, and a spiral we'll get into a little bit later. Then if it's clockwise, it's an ascending journey. And if it's counterclockwise, it's a descending journey. And it tells you how many journeys that you've got. So spirals can be a lot of what I call calendar markers, and spirals can be what's important about them is journey, migrations, clan signs, and rain, rain, and rain, and rain. Those are the important things to it. And so one of the things you learn about creation stories from all the tribes that I've studied is they're all different. There's no such thing as one creation story. And even though this is a Hopi creation story, depending upon what Hopi you talk to, this might be a little bit different for each Hopi. So we start right here. This is up in the sky. That's another thing to point out is all rock art is divided into 3 sections: underworld, this world, and upper world. But a story could be of just the upper world. So they have stories of 3 worlds. So I'm just going to go through the story right here. So here we have the creator thinking that the creator wanted to make a place for 2-leggeds to live, but the creator wanted to make sure that there was still a connection there. So a circle is a portal. And so this is an open portal to the creator. And this is the open portal that the humans have to connect themselves to the creator. So I wanted to make sure there was always a way to talk to the creator. And I won't do this in Hopi words because I can't pronounce them very well. but he set apart the nephew to help him in the creation. One of the things that you see with this figure right here, you've got a T on the bottom and you've got a T on the top. So this means it's a portal from the earth to the sky, and the upside down T is a portal from the sky to the earth. And this is divided into 7 parts. So the creator wanted the nephew to set up 7 universes so that humans would have choices. So the creator first set up this, and then this represents things that are going to be, things were created spiritually first before they were set physically. So this is all the things that were going to be the water. This is going to be solids. This is going to be humans. So they set all those things up spiritually first. And here you see a little knot on the top. And up here is Spider Woman. And there's lots of different ways that Spider Woman has been displayed. So if you get a Navajo blanket, for instance, that's got red crosses in that Navajo blanket, or if you see a red cross with the Navajo or the Dene, that's actually Spider Woman, a red cross. So you have to know the cultural differences. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the creator woke up Mother Spider and asked her to create something. So she was going to go out and create all of the 2-leggeds. And the first 2-leggeds that she created here, and they were twins. See the umbilical cord? Now, every little thing in the petroglyphs means something. It isn't like, oops, I colored out a line, or oops, that dot is out of place. This is the umbilical cord for the twins. And they will come into play later on. So the first thing she did was to create the twins. And then she set out to create the human race. And the first thing that she did in creating the human race is to make, the Hopis called this the Cape of Wisdom. This is the placenta that goes around every baby. So every baby is born with this Cape of Wisdom, and this is what the placenta looks like. So when the babies were being born, the creator wanted to set up areas of movement. They're not chakras, but they're kind of similar to it. And so the Navajos have the thought that there's 5 chakras or 5 areas of movement. And this right here represents the area of movement, or the chakra, which is the top of the head. And it's first open when the baby's little, and then it begins to close. And then later in life, we have to open it back up again. So this is all about the chakra at the top of the head. And this chakra right here with this note here, like the creator thinking, this is the brain. And you might be surprised that the Hopis talk about, this is a story that goes back thousands of years, that the brain has 2 parts to it. One part helps us with the physical part, and the other helps us with the spiritual part. So it's almost like it's a left brain, right brain with thinking. And right here, this goes down to the throat that looks like a little designation here. This is for us to be able to sing songs to the creator. And then this right here is the heart. And the Hopis believe that everybody's born with the perfect heart. There's no reason for being enlightened because you're already born that way. And later on in life, experiences make us grow a second dark heart. And so when we get older and we start realizing these things, we begin to get rid of that second heart. So I said to Lewis, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4 areas. And I said, what about the 5th? And he said, this right here, which goes to the gut feeling, which is really important to this culture. This is the footprint of the creator inside us. So that's where the gut helps us. That's a gut feeling kind of situation. So that's the 5 areas. And then up here, this is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So this is divided, this ladder, and there's ladders all over. So this isn't the only place in St. George. There's a great one in Santa Clara. There's a lot of just different ladders. And so the top note is the beginning and the last is the ending. And so this is divided into 7. And I'm not going to go too much into the stories because it takes a long time. But this right here, this was the first world. And in the first world was destroyed by fire. And so when it came time, those that were talking to the creator would follow. This is the cloud during the day and the star at night. They followed and went into live with the ant people. And that's what that A is for, not for ants, but that's the hill that they went into. And this is important because of their Kiva stories, their emergent stories. So they went down and lived with the ants while the earth began to cool. And the ants were very generous, that the ants would always share their food with them. And that's why the ants have skinny waists. And that's why they dance with kind of like a belt around their waist to honor the ant people. And they finally came up into the second world. And the second world, they began to do more trading with each other, and they started worshiping the traders and all of the goods that the traders had to give them. And so they decided that it was time to make a change. And so this world was destroyed by ice. So once again, they went down to live with the ant people. And when the ice melted, they came up into this third world. And just to show you the detail, these two little notches right here. Okay, Mother Spider put all of the people into hollow reeds, and so that they could float in the water while the earth was being destroyed. And this world was, they got into worshiping technology more than they did the creator. And so the creator wanted to bury all of the technology under the water. And this was told me by a 107-year-old man that hasn't have any of the New Age teaching or Atlantis or anything like that. But I think it's really interesting. And so they floated around, and finally they came up into this fourth world here. And in the fourth world, before we evolved into the fifth world, in the fourth world that we're in right now, that we're going to be exposed to the highest level of technology and the highest level of spirituality, and we have to make a choice to balance it. And then we will go into the fifth world if we choose to. Now, the Maya say we're already in the fifth world. And so over here, once again, you have the twins, where they come into place when it was being created in a spiritual form. The one twin touched it so that it would become physical. And the second twin created, the female twin created everything to vibrate. It's almost like it's, I don't know, quantum physics in that area. And when we went into the ice stage, these twins left their place on the North Pole and the South Pole and eventually went back to it. Now, this ladder right here is also divided into 7 parts. And you see a little figure with the arms that are down. So this is a story of we're in this present world. That's why our arms are down. And we have a choice to stay in this world and make the changes, or go into any of these other 6 worlds. And if we don't like any of those worlds, we have a chance to go out in this portal and create our own world. So the story never ends. And so all of these things on the ledge here were done. There's a great one of Spider Woman here. But when I was talking to Lewis with photos, he just pushed it aside and said, not my people. So these would be Paiute glyphs that are along here. But the best Spider Woman that I've seen is up there on that ledge. And you can see it more in the details. Now, this is the one that Gary's already presented. Let me see if I can get, whoops, not back. Okay, I just want to see how far we go. So when I went up to here, first of all, on petroglyphs, when people were creating this, they knew that we've got 5 fingers and 5 toes. So it wasn't a mistake when they didn't give them 5 fingers or 5 toes. Okay, there was a purpose or a meaning to it. And so 5 means fully physical. Okay, 3 means they call it bird feet, but it's a deity, it's a spiritual, it's a shaman that can travel into all of these worlds. Okay, so if this is a rain god here, why does this rain god have 5 fingers? And the answer to that is up here. I was excited. This was a discovery of a couple of years ago. I went up there with a photographer from New Jersey, and we went up there for the winter solstice, and I wanted to see on winter solstice if this would verify what I thought. A little bit later into the photos, I'll show you the difference between a descending spiral and an ascending spiral. But we had a night sky program, and we went up and saw this spiral, and using the night sky program, whoops.
That's it. Oh, back the other way.
Okay. Oh, just like life, I have to be careful what I touch. Oh, well, oh, sorry. I tried to not be naughty, but anyway, oh, God.
Oh, well.
I'm touching it. Okay. So we had a night sky program, and we realized that that spiral, which is a descending spiral, pointed directly to the North Star. And so that means that follows the old stories that the rain god came down from the north, from the North Star. And the reason why they gave this one 5 fingers instead of the 3 is because they wanted the rain god to be present and bring down rain. That's why the 5. And the 4 dots that Gary said is the dipper or the stretcher. And so we even have a program called Night Sky that advanced, intermediate, and beginning, that when we're on a site, we can move the night sky back. And if it lines up 3,000 years ago, if the stars line up, that means that that was made 3,000 years ago. So we're using the stars to date things. And so this bear shaman is incredible. And it's like Gary said, this is lightning, and another interpretation of lightning is the sky serpent, because we've got a water serpent or underground serpent, we've got an earth serpent, we've got a sky serpent. So these are sky stories, is what they are. And so,
Okay.
what?
We're going to talk about the
Supernova.
Oh, the supernova up here. Okay. And in 1024, which falls in line with the dating of the petroglyphs. We had a supernova that hit this area in 1024, I think, right? Yeah. 1054. And we know that date because of the Chinese, because their astronomers were dating that. So we get a lot of nova star symbols up here because they saw that. So this would have been, that helps us date it, that this petroglyph was made at about the same time of the nova star of 1054. Most of the petroglyphs are what they call the formative style. The only thing you need to know is most of the petroglyphs up on Anasazi Ridge were made in about 800 AD to 1100 AD. That's the bulk of them. Okay, some are older, some are newer. And so that would have been significant, the supernova lighting up the sky like it did, to make it become the eye of the bear. If any of you guys have questions, ask. If anybody's awake.
Oh, we're awake. There's no questions in the chat, so you're doing a good job.
Oh, that's scary. Now, even within teachers, I learned a lot from Wilma Johnson, an archaeologist that was an archaeologist for like 56 years, and he passed a few years ago. So some of his stories are a little bit different than my stories. There's no such thing as it's right or wrong, as long as it comes from the Native Americans. And he learned also some of his stories from the Hopi, but he learned from a traditionalist Hopi, and I learned from a progressive Hopi. So there will always be some stories right here. And this, because this has got two heads, this is a sky serpent right up in here. And this person, when you get in the detail, has just 3 digits. So that would be a spiritual form coming down to be born inside this woman here. And this can be interpreted as a male and female sign, or it can be interpreted as a serpent from earth and water. And so this person is born, and the digits here, I can't remember if they're 5, yeah. And so like Gary said, this is an ancestor spirit right here, and this is a dragonfly. And the dragonflies connect us to the underworld. Now we're moving over to this figure right here. What was important to these people, your status will depend sometimes on your headdress, your necklace, what outfit you wore. And so this was the headdress of this particular person right here. And this right here, first of all, he's part of the Two-Horn Society, which makes him really status. You know, he's up there. And then you see this checkerboard. Okay, you'll see that checkerboard design a lot, even in the really old archaic. And this is, and there again, you got a view from the culture. You could probably guess at this all day long and not know that that's the Milky Way, because the native culture could see the sky. And so to them, the Milky Way looked like a netting, netting, that had captured all the stars. So this is the Milky Way. These are tick marks. And if we really knew the full story, each thing would mean something. These are mountainous areas that he traveled to. The circle that's filled in was in the past, or a closed portal. And this also up here is the connection. Now look what's happening to his digits. See, there's nothing on the feet. There's only 4 on the hand, 5 on that. So using digits, I mean, this is really cool. This is a way of teaching what stage these people are in. Are they fully physical? Are they sort of turning more spiritual? So the more spiritual get, you begin to lose digits. And then over here, you see nothing on the feet or nothing on the hands. And I always tell people, how many digits does that figure have? And there's one kind of important one. Okay. Oh, and what's kind of funny, people that are a little prudish, when they go to these petroglyph sites, they want to scratch it out, which makes it worse. You know, let's go scratch out this little figure right here. But when I was there with my young 8-year-old grandson, he looked at that for a while and he said, Grandma, he said, petroglyphs take a lot of time. I said, yes, they do. And he said, it would take a lot of time to put clothes on them, wouldn't it? I said, yeah, it would. And he said, well, this is a good way to tell the boys from the girls, isn't it? I said, yes, it is. And he looked at it and studied some more. He said, petroglyph. Is that why they call it a pecker? So that was wisdom from my 8-year-old.
Hey, I got a
And so-
question, Feather.
What?
I got a question.
Okay.
You're talking about how these represent different entities, spiritual entities coming to Earth.
Mhm.
But who is the actual carver? Are they carving themselves? Or is this like a scribe for the tribe?
Well,
Who's the person who's doing the physical labor of drawing?
and we can pretty much deduce at this point that in any tribe, there's designation of jobs. And so someone would have been designated as especially when they get the solstice markers, as a sky shaman. And the reason why the seat was important is because they had to be there
All day.
365 days, figure
Yeah.
out when the sun shone there. And so it was probably a designated job. And just like somebody were hunting, somebody were gathering corn. And Little Black Mountain, there's this incredible site that tells the entire female story that was probably done by females. In the earlier years, most of the archaeologists were white and were men. So they just said only men did it. But I disagree with that. I
Okay.
disagree with it. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it was a specific job.
Okay.
And this panel and styles, individual styles would work into it. So I can tell you right now that this panel was done by one person, or maybe this person trained an assistant, but it was
So-
done because of the age of the petroglyphs. The
Okay.
darker the petroglyph, because it started to fill in, the older it is. So these were probably done about 800, 900 AD, you know, on these. And so this is a person that's now been complete life cycle, and is now the little digit right there is actually a symbol that creation goes on even in the spiritual world. It's as simple as that. And then eventually, when the shadows go up there, there's a sky serpent that's up there with closed portals. So this was probably, from the headdress, this was a great teacher. And so they would come here, they would migrate here. There's a kiva, or a ceremonial room, up on top of the ridge. And so I like to tell the little ones and the older ones that this is like being inside a storybook, that they all have stories, but we can't impose white man's stories on it because we have different stories, you know. And so we have to go back to that culture and their stories. And this is a close-up. And I like this close-up, like, again, this is the Milky Way. And if you didn't know that that was the symbol for the Milky Way, and I'll show you more, you could guess this until the, I don't know, cows come home, or cowboys. That might be better. Now, this is the sheep panel that most archaeologists refer to this as "I told you so" panel. Okay, so this area, the Anasazi, and I'm going to use that name because you're more familiar with it, because we don't use that name anymore. But they had like a 25-year-old drought, and so they left this area because of drought. Okay, and so this is the story. I told you so. Now, down below, there were two villages ran by females, and we know that it's very matriarchal, and that we know they ran by females because their bodies are square. And the horns, sheep is a symbol of people and not a sheep. A sheep can be a sheep, or a sheep can be a group of people, because it's a lot easier to develop a symbol for a bunch of people rather than pecking in 500 little people. You say, okay, a sheep is a group of people. Okay. And so we had two large villages below. And now look at their feet when you're studying it. Look at their feet. Okay, are they migrating? Are they moving? They're rooted in, like your teeth. Okay, so they were there to stay. Okay, and they were warned. They were warned by the ancestors up in here that it was time to leave. And if they didn't leave, the J, which is in the Milky Way, is the place where it's void of stars. And that's the place that they would end up into, the J in the Milky Way, and the L is Earth. And so they would leave Earth and end up into the J in the Milky Way. And this little guy here with the clothespin mouth, that's the coyote. They sent the coyote down to yap at them to get them to move. And some moved and some didn't, and some stayed and they died. But I was excited with this J right here. I work with astronomers in Montana, and we got all excited when they came out with the news that they had found the first black hole. And when they showed a picture of it, first of all, it was a circle with dots, so it looked like a portal. But the black hole that they found was really close to the J. Where with the Hopis, that's where all life ends, and a lot of other Pueblo tribes. The J is the symbol where all life ends.
That J's in the Horsehead Nebula,
Yeah,
when you look at the Milky Way.
yeah, it's between Scorpio and Sagittarius constellations, and so that was really, really important to this culture. And there you can see close up, and that does have equinox figures on it. Let me go back here. Then on top of the ridge, you've got, this is the footprint of the creator. This is Spider Woman and her sack. These are the footprints of the adults that face west. Oops, he didn't get that. And there's also pictures of smaller footprints which faces east. Now this that you saw on that slanted rock, this is telling you, first of all, you've got what? 3 digits. Okay, that's why they call him the Birdman. And this enables this person to travel in all different dimensions and all different worlds. And there's a long story on this right here, but I'll really shorten it. But this is really a soul tube or a spirit tube. And coming up from Mesoamerica culture, that as long as the tube was held in this place, the person stayed here physically. Once it's held up in this position, then that's where the spirit can travel. And that's why it's a tube and there's an opening circle there. And that's why they travel through that. And so the Hopi to this day, even if they bury them underground, they put a hollow reed and put it vertically so that the soul can travel. And even in the Maya temples, when they would build a newer temple on top of an older one, there was always a way out. And so this is a soul troop. This is actually a Scorpio, a symbol of a Scorpio. And all of this are sky stories. And this is an ancestor. This can be looked at both ways. This could be just a half of a body with energy lines coming out, or it can be the other way around. But the slanted rock there, or the Birdman rock, is summer solstice. It doesn't do the shadowing in winter solstice, but it's all about energy and the dimensions in the other worlds. And this is what Gary's already shown you. And this ends up with the star of Venus, which is a very, very important. God, there's too many stories. This is a symbol of one of the most important things of this culture, not only the migrations, but the journeys. But Masao, their creator, dictated to them that they had to migrate in all 4 directions. And they had to leave behind their footprints, which were their clan signs. And even the Hopi word for petroglyph is kukavina, which means footprint. And so every site will have clan signs. And maybe Gary in one of the meetings could bring you, all the clan signs. Mm-hmm. And so when you're out there just, I love to have a bunch of people out there looking for the right things. But if you've got those clan signs in front of you, there's not a story. It's just, hey, we're here. And this one is also, let me get a little bit closer on this one. This is the story of 7 journeys down, 7 journeys up. And this is a portal. You can tell that these are darker. So these would probably be older, because eventually in a petroglyph, the desert varnish comes back again. So it helps us in estimating the age, but water and other things can affect it. Let me see if I want to know. This is a story up on the ridge. When you stand at this spot here, this is kind of hard. This is an earth serpent, but it's also a map of the ledge that you're standing on. And when you look out in the distance, this sky serpent here is the ledge that's out in the distance. And this is a portal to travel through. These are portals that have been there, done that. And this was, let me see if you got a picture of it. Oh, he didn't get a picture of it. But this ends up on this other end, a bear paw, which means that there's a bear clan. And so this is about a journey. I'm trying to make it really short. Okay, this is a bit better one. Okay, now we're going to look at just clan signs that are up there. And so we've got one here, the Bear Strap clan. When they emerged up, 21 clans went in one direction, 18 clans went another direction. The first clan to leave was the Bear clan. Now, and they called them that because when they left, they came across a dead bear. And so they said, oh, we're the Bear clan. And the second one that came along came across the same dead bear, but there wasn't much left of them. So they just made straps of them. So this is a clan sign for the Bear Strap sign. So this tells you that they've been there. Now up here, and I love these things, these are song glyphs that tell you the beginning, the end, and these two are what we call push-ups or choruses. And so this song glyph will always, 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 always be at a ceremonial site. And so I think they're cool. Now this is the Turkey clan sign. These are all up on Anasazi Ridge. So you can take family up there and make this little treasure hunt, saying how many clan signs can we find when we're up here? This is the Two Horn Society that had all the information. Now this one is the coolest discovery. We are actually able to date this, but see this little figure right here, almost looks like a mammoth. We have dated this one at 6,000 years old. So one of the things that we're finding in archaeology is the dates kept being pushed back further. Well, I was talking to Gary earlier about the cave paintings that they found that are 40,000 years old, and now they're thinking they're 50,000 years, which they might have been done by the Neanderthals. And so the dating, this is spider. Yes.
Feather, another question for you. How did they do that dating? How did they, what's the method used to date that as being 6,000 years old?
This particular method was developed by a fellow in Pioche. And what they do on this method, they're not using it as much, but it was big in the 90s. Okay. So look at this right here. Okay. The desert varnish up here has certain chemicals in it, and they can date the desert varnish because they know how many years and thousands and millions of years it takes to gather this magnesium, this desert varnish. And then when they peck it out, they compare the pecked out area with the desert varnish area and back into the dates. Now the paintings, the pictographs are dated usually in a different way by radiocarbon dating. But these cannot be radiocarbon dated because there's no organic material in it. So that they use luminescence and a few other, but and style also helps you.
Okay, thanks.
Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Now this is up on the ledge. We saw that earlier. There's this most elaborate spider woman. These are Paiute. These are Paiute. Okay, this is the one I want to get to. Okay, if you take your hand out and do your finger, make your finger do circles. Okay, if you're doing clockwise, okay, you go like this with your hand. Okay, and if you go clockwise, that's the descending and you can feel like the energy is going in it. If you go counterclockwise, you almost naturally ascend. So the spirals are descending and ascending, okay? And so, oops. So this is a story. It's not complete here, but this is a story of ascending down to earth and then ascending back up to the sky. And spirals are used a lot for calendar markers, as they call them. And you can see by the head right here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the number of circles that they make can be the number of journeys, but also they've done some interesting studies that if it's got 6 lines on it, if you look at the solstices, it takes 6 months for the sun to get to the highest point and 6 months for the highest sun to get to the lowest point. Summer solstice and winter solstice is 6 months. So we're finding a lot of studies on that. This is what I said right here. See, you would never guess that to be the Milky Way. That's the Milky Way. And that was because of the hashtag or checkerboard square. And these are children's footprints because they're facing east. So direction is really important. When you go out there, always take a compass with you because you'll be surprised at how sometimes they're just really spot on. This is the sun and the moon.
Got another question for you.
Okay.
And this actually would be a good one to maybe, are these carved in or painted on?
Okay, a petroglyph literally translates into rock writing, the word.
Rock writing.
Petroglyph means they pecked it in using a chisel and a hammer.
These are all petro.
And so these are all petroglyphs that are up there.
But
Now
the pictographs,
Yeah, are the paintings.
okay.
Okay, and the pictographs, we can date those easier because they're usually made with organic material. And pictograph actually means picture image if you translate it. And there's a few places that actually use both methods.
Mhm.
And so these are all petroglyphs because they've all been pecked in.
Pecked in, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
picto, remember, peck and picture. Peck and picture. And we've got some really gorgeous petroglyphs, pictographs around here. And we started seeing that used a lot, especially when you got further north with the Fremont culture. And this is, I know where this is. This is actually in Santa Clara Canyon, down by the old village. There's a village there that dates back about 7,000 or 8,000 years. And when you start seeing big hands and big feet, it's probably a creator symbol. And this is a female figure. The umbilical cord is right here. This is a female figure. And up there on the ridge, you've got, this is a shaman because of the figures. Now here you can see, this is probably done first. See how it looks darker? So that was done first. This was done at a much later date. So that was real common for folks to come along with a different story or add something to the story. And so this is a shaman on earth because his arms are down, that's attempting to control the sun. And this is also a calendar marker. Now this one I like. This is up on the ridge. See all these dark ones? Okay. These are probably 3,000 years old. And this is more of a guess than that. Okay, this is a little traveling family here. And this used to be the dark side, a clan sign, if they had clan signs back then, but it was a bear print, okay? But along come the Paiutes and added this at a later date. And this represents for them, oops. This represents, this plant right here is one of their Vision Quest ceremonial plants, Datura, or moon lily, or gypsumweed, but it's in the nightshade family. So I would suggest under no circumstance anybody ever even try to use that. Up on the Shivowitz tribe, one of the, well, it was the chief, he lost 2 sons. But after in a ceremony, when they took this particular plant, they dove into Gunlock a year apart and never came back up again. So the Paiutes can add to the story. So we can do a lot of adding. They added to the story. And this one I like. It's a Paiute story. And this is where coyote poops. There's little poopy marks here. But this little thing right here would tell you, I mean, I could go on. I tell a lot of poop stories, by the way. And my dad used to drive me crazy when things would go really crap in my life. He would just smile at me and say, "Don't worry, wherever there's poop, there's a pony." And so that was always kind of hard for me. And now I'm repeating it. But this was done. These are lighter. Upside down is probably death. But also, if you take an animal, and that's probably a coyote, but if you take any animal, sheep, any animal, and if it looks really skinny, okay, that's going to tell you things are starving. And so there's a lot of symbols that are used in that. That's it for today.
Wow.
any
That was really good.
Well, I mean, it's fascinating when you get into that. And by the way, let's see, September 12th, during the day, I'll be teaching an 8-week course on rock writings for ICL. And then Tuesday evening, I'm teaching that same class in the evening for continuing ed, an 8-week course, where I go into sites and details. And so it's fun to take your camera out and take pictures like Gary does and the rest of you, but it's just cooler when you kind of understand, even if you don't know the exact meaning, you know how important they are to this culture. And we get a little frustrated if somebody superimposes, like Kat used to say, it's grandma's toaster, and because, or that looks like a toilet seat. I mean, so we superimpose whatever culture we come from because we're not familiar with these symbols. So that's what I teach is putting together the symbols and the pieces of the puzzle so that you can understand it. But one of my government friends always gives the line about nobody really knows what they mean. And I remember turning to her and I said, "You realize you just insulted every Native American elder by saying nobody knows what they mean." And they've known for hundreds and thousands of years, but they've not been sharing it. But the fun part, even if nothing else, is to start to look for clan signs.
Mhm.
And like say, Gary at his next meeting can bring, it's a 3-page things that shows the clan signs. And some of them are going to surprise you. So there's just this treasure out there to be preserved and taken care of. And since you guys have cameras, if you see anybody abusing it, then please let the folks at BLM know. And the abuse can be something simple as walking on them or touching them, And I was up on Anasazi Ridge, and there was one family that they had a couple of children that they didn't control very well, and they were just skipping and jumping on all of the petroglyphs. And I said, "Please don't do that." And the parents paid no attention to me. And so I finally turned to the dad and I said, "They're walking on Jesus. That one's all about Jesus." So then they stayed off, so whatever it takes,
Yeah.
But this is a culture that goes back thousands of years. And Santa Clara Canyon even ends in a 7,000 or 8,000-year-old village that's in what they call archaic desert form. So, and the native culture is sharing more and more with what they mean. That's what's making a big change. For a while, they didn't trust any white folks with the stories, to put it that way. So, any questions?
So the class that you'll be teaching, is that going to be the same at ICL and continuing ed? Is it the
Yes.
same? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the same class. So I can't remember what time it starts on the 12th. I think it's around noonish.
Okay.
But if you sign up with ICL, you get all the other
We'll see it.
classes.
Yep.
And
Okay,
then
great.
Tuesday evening is through continuing ed for those people that still work. And so I have fun with that class. There's a lot of PowerPoints and videos and a whole bunch of storytelling.
Neat.
So
I think there was a question from Lynn. He was going to say something.
Yes, Father, I'm going into the Tablelands area in California, or northern around Bishop, probably in late September, and I'm looking for some advice from somebody who, with your background, who could give me some idea. There's a lot of places in there that are basically fairly guarded secrets in terms of the cultural significance, because they don't want people going in there and messing them up. Is there a protocol or a way that I could basically talk to somebody to get some favorable? I want to get access to these places, not to try to share the beans with everybody in the world, but I just like to get to some of these places that are sort of fairly significant. Not fairly, but I know in many cases they're major significant places that that I can't find. Nobody wants to share the information. Is there a polite, a respectful way of doing that to get access?
Well, I mean, first of all, where in Bishop? Are you going down to Blythe? Are you going to Bishop? Are you going to the Mojave Desert?
Tablelands north of Bishop.
And where?
The Tablelands area north of Bishop.
Well, first of all,
one is called Chaco Canyon.
I don't know that one, but Cosos Range is incredible.
Paiute area, apparently.
Yeah. What's happening now, you know, good or bad, that you used to be able to go to maybe BLM or the forest people or some archaeology group. But even if you go to the BLM office, visitor center in St. George, they won't release any information on where the petroglyphs are.
Yeah.
Because of the damages that are occurred. But not too far from that area, one of the most incredible things down Blythe in that area are the geoglyphs. Do you know about those?
No.
They're giant figures that are on the ground. I mean, if you wanted to, we could get together with the map and I could say, go here, go here, go here. But giant geoglyphs. I mean, usually we think of the Nazca's lines, you know, but we've got them right in southern Arizona and in California, giant figures that are put on the ground. And they've even found a couple of them to be calendar markers. They're called geoglyphs. So if you look up geoglyphs, that's going to give you some ideas. You might be able to, ooh, what would be really cool, since you mentioned drones, that would be a cool place to go with drones. God, that'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. And, you know, so yeah, we could get together, Lynn, if you want to do with it.
Could I get an email address from you, Feather?
Yes, it's White. It's White Feather. That's actually my middle name. White Feathers 7, the number 7 at Gmail.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And we could go through maps, and Gary knows a ton of places. He just
This is
came
all
back from
California,
Snake
around Bishop area, so it may not be in your wheelhouse. But I guess I'm looking for some sort of a way of trying to get some respectful admission to these places.
I'd like to add something here. I've just gone through some of that same experience. Two things: they have the Shivwits Indian Reservation just out by Santa Clara, and we wanted to take a field trip out and see some of the stuff that's on the reservation. And they are getting real picky about people that go out there, and even having people arrested that want to go out and see the stuff on their land. And we went to their council and asked for permission, and they just said flat out no. And a second thing that's happened to me recently, I went to a place called Jeffers Petroglyphs in Minnesota, and there are petroglyphs all over these rocks that are on the ground. The site is owned by the Lakota Nation, and I pulled out my camera, started taking pictures, and they said, "Oh no, sir, you're not allowed to take pictures here." I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because white folks have been taking pictures of these petroglyphs, taking them out and making money off of them and not sharing any with the tribe. The white men have taken so much from the Indians already that they are getting real belligerent about it. They're getting to the point where they just don't want to share oftentimes with folks, with the white folks too. So you're going to run into that probably down there by Blythe. You're getting an attitude now, it's more confrontational, shall I say, from these Native Americans about, we don't want you to go there. We don't want you to graffiti up our places. We don't want you to know about them. So you're going to have to just find the right person that's going to let you in. And that's going to be hard to do.
Well, in some ways, I don't blame them.
No,
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 no.
why? I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just, and again, I'm not trying to make any commercial gain out of this thing. It's just a matter of the, I have a curiosity and like to see some of these places.
Yeah, in the Native culture, knowledge is earned and not given.
Well, again,
and
I'd like to,
So I
how
remember.
do I earn that right?
Yeah, and so in that area, I can give you a whole list of places. If you want to see the most gorgeous pictographs in the universe, is in the California area, the Chumash, Chumash. Those are brilliant reds and brilliant yellows and brilliant oranges, and those were Sun people too. And so, but one of the best and most protected area is the Cosos Range in the Mojave Desert, because it's in the middle of a military base. So you have to get clearance almost 30 days out, and they do a social security thing and check to see if you're not a terrorist and everything. And so you go to Lake Ridge, the little town outside of there. You go to Lake Ridge, and you're escorted on the premises with vans and cars, and limited on how many you can go and how many pictures you can take. So, you know, you have to get the reservations ahead 30 or 60 days. But the Cosos Range is a shaman's gallery beyond anything that you'll see anywhere. I mean, natives traveled from all parts of the United States to put their visions on the walls. And just look up Cosos Range. It's incredible. I got bunches of books on it too. So yeah, it's out there. You just have to work harder at it. And like Shirley was saying, you know, we understand that we get the, we would always say Native Americans don't go in and defile your churches. Why do you have to defile our writings? And so we get vandalism, we get the disrespect, we get white man stories told from them or interpreted by them. And, you know, so there's not the respect shown for this culture. And so, but it's exciting when it is released, and I am more open about that, because I think if people understand, you're going to respect it more.
Yeah.
Because now you can go away with some scope of meanings.
If I could just share one quick story with you that I think you'd appreciate. This is going back a few years ago. I was in northern Arizona, in the area of the Coal Mine Canyon. And it's basically on the borderline between Navajo and the Hopi areas. And I was stopped at the side of the road in a little pullout, just looking at my maps. The guy in a pickup truck, he was a rancher in the area. Turned out he was Hopi. And he came by and stopped. And it reminded me of one of these old Wild West movies where we stood and drew a map in the sand right in front of us, where he tried to show me how to get to where I wanted to go. But it was like something out of an old Western movie, where the way he was drawing this map. And I took a picture of it just for posterity, but it was just.
Well, I just came back from a trip to Chaco and Monument Valley, and we did a Rent a Navajo thing.
Yeah.
Which was so worthwhile. I had no idea on the backside of Monument Valley that there were dwellings and that there were petroglyphs and a few pictographs. I had no idea. And some people would even argue that the Navajos never did petroglyphs, but that's not true. I can show you petroglyphs of their two twins, Monster Slayer and Born of Water. That they didn't make it for a long period of time, just a short period of time. And then I can even, in my class, I show you the Hopi, that they did a petroglyph of the Twin Towers and airplanes crashing into it. So it's not stopped, it's still being done. So it's just exciting. So yeah, I got tons of books, right, Gary? I got tons of books. So yeah, come to my September classes if you're interested in it, because I think it would add a dimension to taking your photos. And in your photos that you've already taken, go back and look at them more closely, because I teach the symbols, I teach the pieces of the puzzle and how we put it together. Like a circle is a portal, and a T is also a portal, and then you get a cross, which is the cardinal directions, and so that has deep meanings to this. So, and I think there needs to be some sort of middle ground. In our native culture, we don't mind sharing with anybody that'll show respect. Let me put it that way. So I remember
that's what I'm after.
And on
Yeah,
that end, and
my-
on that note, I'm going to stop the recording, but we don't necessarily have to stop the conversation. But I
Okay,
want to thank you for this. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can continue chatting if people want to.